good evening. It's another Wednesday night here at PAC TV, and it's another episode of Talk of the Town. Want to welcome everybody to show 393. That means there's only 6 more episodes till we hit 400, which will be a great celebration here. I just want to give you some quick notes here. Also, next week will be the Three Amigos, and then following that, Karen will return after town meeting, where she is right now. Karen did want me to mention also the town meeting is this coming Saturday, October 17th, and PAC TV will broadcast town meeting live on Comcast Channel 15 or Verizon Channel 47. And town meeting starts at 8 a.m. You can also go to Plymouth North if you'd like to attend in person. So just wanted to throw those out there for you right now. Also, let's start talking about our 2 underwriters. We have David and Kevin Gallerani of Cape Auto Body and Service, located at Samoset and Sandwich Streets. And great service and great people. And then also, of course, our illustrious Brewster PC Solutions with Wrestling Brewster. And I turn into PAC TV and watch Wrestling with Computers. They double space this thing. So anyways, Wrestling with Computers with Wrestling Brewster. So, which, by the way, his little offspring is sitting next to me here. But we did want to welcome both Noah Brewster, who is right here to my right, your left on TV, and also Mike Caple, Visual and Performing Arts Coordinator for Plymouth Public Schools. Here is right here he is.
This camera.
Bouncing all over the place, but that's okay. You know, we're always ready to go here. Anyways, today's program is really kind of interesting. I don't know if you've tuned into a couple of the previous Three Amigos. I'm sure you all have. Except for last week or 2 weeks ago when Dave Gallerani had a birthday going and he was someplace that he couldn't call into us. So we missed our one and only caller that we usually get. But on one episode I had mentioned to Wrestling about how he had gone to Plymouth, England, and actually had gone around and sort of walked in some of the footsteps that his descendant, William Brewster, the elder, actually did out of Scrooby, England, as well as the traveling over here. Scrooby?
Yes.
Scrooby-Roo?
Scrooby-Roo.
And anyways, it was very intriguing. It was, obviously, he was very emotional about it. And so what I wanted to do this evening was to sort of bring together 2 of the people that actually also attended this event. And again, we have the 400th anniversary coming up, and it's only 4.5 years away, which will be here before we even know it. And I know there's a lot of people who are still wondering, what's the town going to do? What is this all about? I know some people are have a better understanding, others don't. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to bring both Noah Brewster, who did actually go over, and where we hear that he was a rock star while he was over there, and also Mike, who actually helped to put everything together. So, Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you and just really, again, talk about the whole event and the Plymouth International Chorus as well.
Sure.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me. So the Plymouth International Choir took some time to come to fruition, for sure, with lots of people helping out. But about 2 years ago, a group of administrators from the Plymouth Public Schools, we traveled to Plymouth, England, to meet some of our counterparts over there. We met with a lot of leaders in the educational sector. We had meetings and got to know one another. We had lots of ideas from arts-based things and social studies-based things. How could we coordinate and how could we get kids together? And that's kind of what came to the top, was having kids connect with one another from the 2 Plymouths. And one idea, again, that rose to the top was music. Music, for me, for lots of people, is a really key way to bring people together. And one way we could include the youth. So that kind of bubbled to the top. We had lots of meetings, lots of Skype sessions, lots of calls across the Atlantic, and then we put together a choir. It took a while. We had auditions. Noah auditioned. Noah got into the choir, did a fabulous job. But we had 31 students that we took. We did a lot of fundraising over a year's period of time, a lot of rehearsal. We have 3 amazing music teachers, and I think Noah can probably talk about that a little bit as well, his experience with our 3 amazing music teachers that put this all together for us musically. We worked with our partners in Plymouth to put together a program that was based in music that brought people together from both sides of the Atlantic around education. So that's kind of how it started, and it was a magnificent trip and opportunity for these young people. So I think it went pretty well.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, was that your first time over to London or England?
The trip, the research trip that we did 2 years ago was my first trip.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then this was our first time bringing students over. And you had mentioned the 400th anniversary, and so we're trying to work with some of the educational component to the 400th, and that's the impetus for sure.
Yeah.
But we envision. I would like to someday retire eventually and have this keep going and keep happening. I think this is just a natural project that can keep moving forward and evolve years to the 400, beyond the 400, and keep that connection going.
Well, it makes sense that it would probably do that. I mean, we've got other sister cities. I know there's a city in Japan that's one of our sister cities that we go back and forth with, and so it would be, obviously ideal, as we talked about a couple weeks ago here on the Three Amigos, is one of the things that I don't think a lot of people know, and it's probably not being taught in school, as some of our American history seems to be limited in that, is that if it wasn't for the Pilgrims, if it wasn't for Governor Bradford and William Brewster and all the others that had understood what the Magna Carta was all about and wrote the Mayflower Compact off of Provincetown, that you wonder how different our country would be. What would this form of government be today? And I don't think people really realize that if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have what we have today.
Right. It was a real beginning to this country was that the Pilgrims came from Plymouth over here and understood those democratic ideals for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that's great. Now, Noah, now over to you, my friend. So was it July 9th was when you guys...
It was July 3rd, if I am correct.
It was July
in saying? July 5th.
Okay.
Yeah, July
Yes,
5th
July
through
5th.
July 12th we traveled, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And what was that experience like for you, Noah? That must have been, was it your first time traveling over there?
It was my first time going to England.
Okay.
It was a great experience for me. I got to meet so many kids that I had never even had connections with.
Yeah.
I didn't even speak to them at the beginning when we had first auditioned. And at the end, you couldn't separate me from my 2 friends, Connor and Hugo. We were just stuck together.
Oh, they're from here, from Plymouth here?
They're from Plymouth here. And in England, I made a few new friends, one of them being Pumbaa. His real name is Joe. We call him Pumbaa. I don't really know the reason, but I believe there is reasoning behind it. I've just met so many new people, had so many new experiences. I got to sing with an amazing choir and perform for the Lord Mayor, so that was pretty amazing.
I saw some of the pictures on, I can't remember whose Facebook, if it was the Facebook, was it Kathy McMinn? Is she the one that does the blog, or there was a Facebook?
Kathy McMinn, yeah. Kathy McMinn is one of the chorus directors, and she was doing a blog for us.
Okay, okay.
Yep, the Plymouth
But I saw some
International
pictures,
Chorus.
and I saw the Guildhall, and oh my God, that was just spectacular.
It was stunning. Just the second you walked in, how the light came through the stained glass windows, and the second we started singing, the acoustics in the Guildhall were absolutely amazing.
Wow.
We just sounded like
professional.
Well, we basically were by that point. We had rehearsed enough. I mean, I say that jokingly, but really, we had rehearsed quite a lot.
Yeah.
We'd done a lot of work to prepare for this, and I believe it really paid off with the help of Mr. Caple and all of the chorus directors. I think it was an amazing payoff with a beautiful final product.
Wonderful. What? so it was your group, and then it was, so you sang with the group that you went over with, but also sang together with the group from Plymouth, England as well?
Yes. Their chorus had a part, our chorus had a part, and eventually we sang together, and it was amazing at the
Wow.
end.
What were some of the songs that you guys sang?
We sang a song called Kusi Mama, which has African rhythms and is actually sung in Swahili. It means, Kusi Mama actually means to stand tall, and in the lyrics, roughly it says, stand tall, stand up, children are closer to the sun or the earth, and I just thought it was a great message in that song.
Wonderful.
There were a lot of other songs. One was actually a hymn. It was...
I'm not sure what song you're... Not Dona Nobis.
It was not Dona Nobis. It was...
I knew I should have
It was
made a list of the... I knew I should have brought a list
Yeah,
of
I was like,
the repertoire.
should I bring a list of the songs? I know I'm going to be asked about them.
It'll come to one of us here
It was
in
an
a couple
old
minutes, I'm
Quaker
sure.
hymn. It was an amazing song. We just sang with them. We sounded great separate, but I believe we sounded phenomenal together.
So there were 31 students from Plymouth, Massachusetts that traveled there, and we had our choir, our chorus, and then for the performance, the major performance at Guildhall, we had. We sang some songs on their own, and when I say we, I had nothing to do with the singing. Thank goodness, everybody would be happy to know that. But the students sang on their own. No, it's very bad, my friend. And their choir sang on their own a bit as well. So it was nice to highlight our group, but also put the kids together. They had about 100, 110 students.
We were vastly outnumbered.
Yeah, when you put those two together and had 140 students, it was powerful, and it was powerful in that hall. The acoustics, as Noah said, was wonderful, but they had a lot of power. And he joked a little bit about the rehearsing. It wasn't easy music.
No, not by any stretch of the
certainly for the
imagination.
age group that went, and we had middle school kids, so 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They were pushed.
Yeah.
They rose to that challenge, but it does take a lot of work. And so I guess maybe the new saying, instead of how do you get to Carnegie Hall, how do you get to Guildhall? And it's practice, 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 practice.
Well, I think in part of that, I mean, you look at anything, whether, we look at our Patriots, New England Patriots. I mean, practice, 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 and then just do your job. But I think for you kids mostly, probably just the awe of being, over in Plymouth, England.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Going to, the Guildhall, and I'm sure everybody's nerves are probably shot.
I was just... I could barely breathe the second I stepped foot on the stage. I was thinking, all of these people, they're looking at us to sing for them and give them a great show, and that's exactly what we did.
That's wonderful.
I was nervous about us, me mostly, messing up and just taking everybody off, but no, everybody loved it. We got standing ovations.
I mean, that must have just been incredible. And I actually was, I thought about going over there, with that during that time frame too, because I had a descendant that came over on the Mayflower too, William White. It's one of the first to die that first winter, and so obviously making that connection as well would be incredible. Now, you'd mentioned you'd made some friends over there. Do you still keep in touch with them at all?
I don't really have much of an option to keep in touch with them, but I have friends who do still keep in touch with all of the kids we've met.
Great.
It really did forge long-lasting friendships. Even if it is a transatlantic friendship, it will last a very long time. Yeah. And we really bonded with these kids over our music, and it really was, not trying to be cliche, but it was the music that actually brought us together and made us what we were as a chorus and a choir.
I think there's and I've mentioned this a couple times here on the show too, where there's two things that are universal. One is mathematics, It's the same everywhere. And music.
Yeah.
And how music really is, and I know that there was a thing recently I saw where there's these portals that you can actually go into, and you can actually, there's a camera there, and it's almost like Skyping, but you can Skype with other people from other countries.
Sure.
But they were just talking about how you get to meet people and talk to people that you don't even know, but they were talking about how some people are taking it to the next step where, one guy will be playing guitar in, let's say in Boston, and then this other person could be in Afghanistan playing a wind instrument, and they're trying to collaborate. I mean, it was just amazing, because that music, again...
Music is the universal language.
Yeah, it is that international language that brings people together in lots of ways. And I think that was one great thing about this experience for the kids. They were musicians. Music brought them together, connected them, and was just a powerful force that helped them get to know each other. I think one of the byproducts of that is, and the important parts of this project is, these students were true ambassadors from Plymouth, Massachusetts. I couldn't have been more proud of that group of students that went over there. From the beginning, all the way through the concert, after the concert, all these opportunities that were presented to these guys. They behaved very well. They worked very hard. Just so proud to see them, and it was just magnificent.
That's
absolutely
great.
magnificent.
Noah, and again, for you, Noah, obviously, you've got even more of a deep-rooted connection. Obviously, being
definitely.
the 12th generation of 12th generation.
Yes, my father would be, of course, the 11th.
The 11th. Well, the heck with your father.
He's all right.
So, what was that like, knowing your roots and your history, to then be in Plymouth, England, and realizing that 300 plus years ago, that's where you started. Your family started there. I mean, that must have been pretty intense.
Oh, it was. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When I got there, it was just an instant connection. It seemed just like Plymouth at home, with the waterfront, the old stone homes. Some of the homes in Plymouth, the very old ones, are built the exact same way, and that just reminded me of home, and it just kind of clicked instantly. I was like, my 11 great grandfather once stood on the steps that I'm standing on, the Mayflower steps, and that just kind of really stuck. It was an amazing experience. I just saw all of the architecture and everything, and it was great.
Did they have a Dunkin' Donuts there?
I
I don't remember seeing Dunkin' Donuts.
There are Dunkin' Donuts in England now. I
are?
believe I've heard of a
wow.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Wow. Okay. Now, Mike, what other preparation took place? Obviously, there was a rehearsal. How many, or an audition, if you will?
rehearsal.
How many people originally came out to the initial audition?
Sure. Well, we started with an information night for parents and families, so they knew what they would kind of get into, what the commitment was, and I would say we had over 100 people come to that information night. We had about 60 approximately students audition for the 31 spots that we ended up taking it. So these students, it was their ability to sing for sure. We needed their talent, if you will, for singing, but we needed students that could be good ambassadors, and we needed recommendations from teachers. We needed the students to write an essay of why they wanted to go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're really looking at the whole person, not just the artist and the musician, but the whole person, because we had some a little bit of trying times here and there, as you do anytime you travel, certainly internationally. Certainly with a group of 40 people, trying to get them on a flight that switches at the last second, and getting boarding passes, and really testing patience sometimes. But the kids were, as I said before, the kids were absolutely fabulous. They did have an audition. And then once we chose our choir, we rehearsed, I would say approximately, was it 10 or a dozen times?
Oh, it was easily a dozen, yeah.
where they would get together on Wednesday evenings for a couple months. We had some opportunities for them to sing. They sang the night before they left. They sang at the Philharmonic concert.
Nice.
They started their tour there, kind of as a kickoff at the base of Coles Hill, which was appropriate. And then we left the next day. And this choir is going to continue and evolve. But this group of students, this main group of students, they'll actually be performing at Illuminate on, I believe, November 21st. This is the same day as the Thanksgiving parade.
I had heard that. I'm very excited for that, to be reunited with all those kids once again.
Yep. So we'll have that group of kids performing there as part of that. And then we just got the news also that the idea for this project wasn't just a one-hitter, if you will, a sustaining project. So we had such an amazing experience with them. We want to reciprocate that, and so we just got confirmation that we'll have 22 young English people, boys and girls, coming here. It will be the end of May, beginning of June, with their amazing staff and music teachers.
So you're breaking news right here on the Talk of the Town.
This is live.
Unbelievable.
Live breaking
live.
news.
Yes.
You're getting this news live.
You're getting the scoop.
We got it before the old Colony Memorial.
Exactly.
Love that.
We did.
And we
Before
will have a massive concert as well. We have a date, June 1st, Plymouth, the Performing Arts Center at North High School. June 1st, 7 p.m. And it will be an amazing international choral event.
And how long are they going to be here for?
They will be here for a week.
So you got other things set up for them as well?
We will.
Yeah.
We want to. They were amazing hosts. They provided our students with these fabulous opportunities, musically and culturally, and we want to reciprocate that. We want to show off Plymouth. We want to. It's going to be springtime, late springtime. The weather's going to be beautiful. We're going to be looking to put together a program for these students that, like our students, they'll never forget.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. We have some photos. Could we throw up the? Oh, we don't have photos. Oh,
It's
okay.
on the paper.
Okay. Well, it says pictures, no video, so I thought you'd be ready for me, but I guess we'll just keep rocking here as we always do here on the Talk of the Town. So the coordination of that, obviously, Mike, you were an integral part. Who else at Plymouth North was helped with this event?
Well, this is it certainly was a district wide. Project. We should mention that kids came from 6 different schools in Plymouth Public Schools for this project. PCIS, Plymouth South Middle School being the main ones, but also when we selected the choir, we were doing 6th graders in the summer, so we took some 5th graders that participated in a variety of our elementary schools.
Wonderful.
So really, trying to get the kids in the program young.
Get them singing young. Keep on doing it.
No, you're exactly right. But there was fall in love with it. Yeah, absolutely. But we have it was everybody from Dr. Maestas, the superintendent, Dr. Chris Campbell, the assistant superintendent. We also have Dr. Lisa White, coordinator of ELA, who's on our committee for our England exchange, and Dr. Kathy Babini, who's a social studies coordinator. Kind of as the central office, certainly our music teachers, the 3 who took this project on, Miss Kathy McMinn, teaches at Federal Furnace, Mrs. Jessica Fuller, who teaches at PCIS, and Miss DeVoe, who teaches at South Elementary School. They worked closely. They obviously brought these kids and taught these kids the music, but they worked closely with their counterparts in the UK for a year before. Before we started planning this and putting the music and the repertoire together with our counterparts over in the UK, who those same individuals will be traveling here in May and June.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So a great team effort. Lots of work by lots of people.
How did you like the food over in England?
Now, I would consider myself an Anglophile.
Yes.
So take that into consideration before you get my answer. The first thing I looked for, really, was digestive biscuits, gonna be honest. Just digestive biscuits. They sound like they're something that would help you with bowel problems. But actually, they're much more pleasant. They're a sweet meal cookie, and they're actually very good with tea.
Okay.
Speaking of which, I bought 2 boxes of black tea the second I got there, too. Left it in the dorm.
Oh.
Everybody to take part in. I love all really English food.
Bangers and mash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll list my top 5 favorite foods. Well, there were quite a lot.
There was, yeah.
Number 1, pasties.
And what are those?
They're like, how do I explain this?
Similar to a
Shepherd's
calzone?
pie
Oh,
and
like
a
shepherd's-
calzone.
yeah.
It's like
okay.
shepherd's pie in the form
With
of a
pastry
calzone.
over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's baked. It's golden brown, flaky, like a chicken pot pie,
Yeah.
and a calzone mix, except less Italian. That would be my favorite. Second, fish and chips.
Okay. Now, how do their fish and chips compare to our fish and chips?
Nothing like ours.
Better?
The chips are not those stringy French fries that fall apart when you touch them. They're basically potato wedges.
Yeah.
They're like actual, like what we would
Got some
consider
meat in the
steak
potatoes.
fries.
Yeah. Okay, steak fries. Yeah,
Exactly. And the fish, it's just more, I'd say, than we would have.
So then
like,
we
in
probably
fish
don't
and
want to give
chips.
them fish and chips when they come here because they'll be disappointed.
It's like, this is all you're giving me, these wimpy little fries and this tiny fake cod fillet? What is this?
We had some students visit us last Thanksgiving that weren't part of the choir necessarily, but they came over as a student exchange. They were a little bit younger than you guys, and they were here last Thanksgiving, and the thing that they wanted most was pizza. Pizza was on their number 1 list of the menu.
American
so yeah, they had a
foodstuffs.
lot of pizza, and they really think our pizza is far superior to their pizza.
Well, I've had pizza over in London. I went to London back in '98. It was interesting. I went to my first pub, and the bartender, when I told him I was from Boston, he said to me, "Now you do understand that all of the beer is room temperature." And I said, "Yes, I've heard that." And he goes, "Well, I'll buy your first one for you." So I'll never forget. I got a Boddington's or a speckled hen. I got a speckled hen, but when I looked around the tavern, there were like all these Budweiser banners, and I went, "What's up with the Budweiser banners?" He looked at me and he said, "It's the number 1 selling beer in England." I went, "You
Really?
gotta be kidding me!" This was back in 1998.
Yeah,
Budwater.
Budwater,
As
yeah,
our family
yeah.
calls it, Budwater.
Well, we have our first picture. Can we toss that picture up and let's see what we have here? This looks like it's the chorus.
Oh, yes.
So
I
is
do
this the
remember
Guild
this.
Hall?
Yes, this is the entire course. So that's our Plymouth Mass course, kind of in the middle, with their entire course kind of surrounding our students.
Okay.
And we are all dressed. We have the similar dress and T-shirt, but this is at Guild Hall during one of the performances. We did 2 performances at Guild Hall that day. We had 2 different shows that night.
What's that tapestry on the back wall? Or is it a tapestry? It looks like a tapestry.
It is a
It is a
tapestry,
tapestry.
and I honestly wish I had some more information for you, Andrew. I don't remember exactly what the background is on that. So this picture, those are our choral directors in the middle, Jess Fuller, Karen DeVoe, and then Kathy McMinn on the right, with 3 lovely English children presenting them with a gift that they made, which was an artist tapestry. Really, it's a beautiful piece that they gave to us that had different visual symbols of flags and the Mayflower and hands united. It was just absolutely beautiful.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
It was gorgeous.
And so if you see the middle, the kids standing up, that's our chorus. That's
I believe
that's
I'm
31.
the tall one.
To the on the left over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the one with the very
We
puffy
can find you,
fro.
yes. With the haircut.
Well, the tapestry
Yeah.
actually, if you could put that picture back, because that tapestry actually looks like it is. Obviously, looks like it might be Jesus and people praying with him, or
Your eyesight is much better than mine, Andrew.
that's what it sort of looks
And
like. Because it
mine.
looks like he's elevated
God.
above the ground, but that's just an amazing, amazing tapestry.
Yeah.
What's the history of the Guildhall? How old is it?
Old.
The Guildhall was originally a Church of England.
Okay.
And dating, I want to guess here, but I could absolutely be wrong, but 18th century.
Okay. Wow, that's fantastic. Is it as big as sort of like Memorial Hall would be, or bigger, or?
Actually, I would say it's a similar size to Memorial Hall. It's set up a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But similar size.
Size-wise,
Yeah, similar size.
Okay, okay. Okay, any other photos? That's it? Ba-boom?
Shebang.
All right, well,
Those are great. That gives you an idea, certainly, of the performance. That day on July 8th was the date of the performance.
Yeah.
now I also was looking over the itinerary, Mike, that you had sent over,
Sure.
and you guys made a stop at Stonehenge?
We made a very brief stop at Stonehenge.
A little drive-by almost.
It was, we tried to put in a lot in a little time.
Yeah.
And London is 4 to 5 hour drive from Plymouth.
Okay.
So they flew overnight. We landed. We went around London, saw some of the sights. Got out of the coach a few times, walked around a little bit, and then drove down to Plymouth. On the way is Stonehenge. So it was literally a drive-by to give the kids
really
a
was.
little bit of a taste of Stonehenge. We were running really behind, so they saw it.
Mm-hmm.
They can say they saw it.
Oh, and that's too bad, because I know when I
Yeah.
had gone in '98, there were some certain things that I took in.
Yes.
I had a friend that lives in London, so for me it was nice because I was able to get. Oh, we got the video. No sound.
Oh, well,
No, I guess you got to sing, man.
Kusi Mama, Noah.
Kusi Mama?
Kusi Mama. Yeah.
Kusi Mama.
There we go. Awesome. But I did get to go to Stonehenge and spent, probably a couple hours just in awe of, how they were able to get, those, especially the blue stones
From Wales.
and you could really feel, like you said, you felt a connection as soon as you got
yeah.
into Plymouth, England, but you could really feel a spiritual heaviness around that whole Stonehenge. Like when I used to live out in Arizona, you would go to Sedona, which is where they have one of the half dozen vortexes in the world, and you can actually feel the energy. You could really feel that in Stonehenge.
Yeah.
So when I saw that on there, obviously I wanted to ask you guys about it. So next time you guys go back there, make
next
sure
time
you
we
carve
will
out some
spend
time.
a little bit more
We will.
time there. Yeah.
And Windsor Castle was incredible. I mean, just to there's one room that had all the weaponry in it.
Yes,
So you would see.
my parents and I went there.
You went, okay.
Yeah.
That was one of the things my dad and I looked at for quite some time.
Yeah.
We enjoyed the whole thing. My mother, who is a big English history buff, enjoyed all of it, although she said it was kind of disappointing since they basically turned it into an amusement park.
Well, that's sort of what it kind of looked like.
Yeah.
But it was still, again, you just you go back to just all the the thousands of years that there was that civilization existed, and obviously it had its good parts, and obviously it had its bad parts where your great grandfather and the Pilgrims really set out for religious freedom, and it's just again if it hadn't been for their fortitude, and if they never left England, again, what would this country look like? I mean, that's what I always think about.
Right,
It just
right.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
What would this form of government been like what would our country be today?
Sure.
Maybe
amazing.
it wouldn't be.
Maybe it wouldn't be. I mean, it might be, maybe, would be speaking French or something. Who knows?
We probably would.
Yeah, who knows? But it's
Right.
it is amazing.
But it's all because of them that we have what we have. And it's because of them that we are sitting here doing the talk of the town tonight.
Yes.
It's because of the Pilgrims. I think
next-
they might have thought in advance.
Next time Karen needs a guest host, I think we got one right here.
But this is why I was the rock star. Interviewed by the BBC,
Yeah.
3 times?
Yeah, talk about that. I mean, that was your dad was telling me about
my.
it, and he just said, it was like every time he turned around, like the BBC was like interviewing him.
Oh, yeah. We were at the Mayflower Steps at first. We had 2 or 3 photographers taking pictures of the whole group. Many group shots, some single shots of me standing by. The wall would be here. There's a little piece that jets out where you can read the history of how the Mayflower set off, what exactly happened, and how that translates into modern day America. And I had some pictures taken there, very, very cheesy pictures. Pictures taken of me at the Mayflower Steps, and then the BBC actually interviewed me at the steps. I had another interview later on. I got interviewed by a newspaper and a radio station in the greater Plymouth area. And after that amazing concert at the Guildhall, I was interviewed yet again by the BBC, and it was more or less southern England got that broadcast. So
you were in a few people's houses that night.
Actually, a couple came up to my parents, and they asked what they were doing in Plymouth, and they said, "Oh, our son, one of the only boys in the international choir that came over from Plymouth, Massachusetts, he's here singing." And they said, "Was that your son on the telly? The curly hair, the big puffy curly hair, the tall one with the glasses?" They said, yes, that is our son."
Wow.
It's just amazing that they actually recognize me from those, 3 interviews with the BBC. It was so strange because here I am, just a regular child going to school in America, but when I get to England, everybody's, "Can I get a picture? Can I get a picture?" The descendant of William Brewster.
It must be, as your dad was even saying too, it was just really almost surreal.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so did you also get to go to Scrooby as well?
I did. I came with him. We took some video of... I'm actually not supposed to be saying this, but I think I can say it since we're in America and they're already developing the film. They're making a film about Scrooby and all of our ancestors dating all the way back to William Brewster, how Scrooby would have looked when they were there. We walked along the courtyard, saw the original barn.
Wow.
The house, the manor really would have been about 5 times bigger, but there's a house there now. We got interviewed on our opinion of the significance of our trip, what it felt like to be back in our land of origin.
Yeah. And how'd it feel for you?
It felt like, it just felt weird seeing that, this is where my ancestors came from. This is the place where really they first planned to set off. They had those secret sermons and things, and I just was really kind of baffled by it, and it, like you said, was a very surreal experience.
I had gone to my Italian side of my family actually also came over to North Plymouth in the early 1900s, and I was fortunate enough back in been there twice now, but they're from my grandmother's side's from Bologna and my grandfather's from Cento, and so I got to actually break bread with my Italian family for the first time in '04.
Wow.
And you're right. I mean, it's something where they look like other family members here.
It's just so unreal.
And I remember going back to my hotel room after we had dinner, and a lot of the foods that I cook now, whether it's the tortellinis, the tortellonis, whatever it might be, we had all that food. And I just went back, and I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, and I cried because it was just such an emotional
Exactly.
thing.
It is emotional. You just go back and see, oh my God, this is where I started from, really. It may have been hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but really my roots are planted right here in this little tiny village in Nottinghamshire, England, where nobody would think. It's just down the back road and take a right and you're at Scrooby, where they would have farmed, lived, worshipped. Everything they would have done is right there, and just to be stepping on that land that they once stepped on, it was kind of, it felt really weird and good at the same time.
And if they never made the journey, you wouldn't be here
What
today.
would I be?
Yeah, interesting. Mike, how about you? What were some of your reflections on places that you went to visit and
Sure.
just taking that all in?
Yeah, we, like I said, our counterparts over in England did a fabulous job, and I want to just mention Pete Nash's name, who was CEO of a collaborative, educational collaborative in England. Fabulous man, and did so much work for us. I think one of my highlights certainly was just watching the kids, being able to watch them and see them grow and perform. A couple memories between our performances. We went back to where we were staying at a local college, and the kids had a few hours to relax and hang out. And I thought they were all going to go, take a nap. Silly me. You were out in the field. They started to pick up a football game, or soccer game, as we say in this country. And we had a great time. Dr. Campbell and myself were out there kicking the ball.
Yeah,
with
everybody
the kids.
had a great time.
And they were just being kids in a small break of being performers, right? They took that small break, and
They
then
probably
the other,
needed it.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
It's just a release of all the pent-up energy that.
But you guys were working so hard,
Yeah.
Really hard, and they needed a little bit
just needed a little bit of
break,
fun.
a little sweat. And the other thing that I think was fabulous was. We took a walk on the Dartmoor National Park.
Oh, yes.
And just outside of Plymouth, in this massive natural resource. And we took a guided hike, and our guide said it would be 3 to 4 kilometers. It ended up being 5.5 miles. So I think he was something like that. Yeah, he was. Kind of tricking us there, but we actually stopped in the middle of this meadow, had a picnic lunch, saw wild ponies, really got a sense of the landscape outside of the city. And Plymouth, England really is a city. Of a city of 250,000 people.
Wow.
So it's similar to this Plymouth. It's on the water. The water means a lot. Has a connection certainly there, but the size of the city, the two town cities are different. So it was nice to get out into the country and see that experience with the kids. It was,
Now, when you
fabulous.
go to Plymouth, England, I mean, here obviously. Even though I think we could be doing a lot more, and I've mentioned that many times in the years that I've lived here, because I used to live in Center City, Philadelphia, and every place you turn, there's a storyboard that just talks about the Revolutionary history, the Liberty Bell, the First Continental Congress, the signing of the Declaration. And so what were so when you went to Plymouth, England, could you, see the historic part of it? I mean, did it like speak to you in that regard?
Yeah. So the city again is large, and there's a juxtaposition between the city center, which it really grew and was rebuilt after World War II because it was bombed heavily during World War II. So that city center really is 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s current architecture. The old city called the Barbican is where we spent a lot of time down on the waterfront. That's where the Mayflower Steps are. That's where the Lord Mayor's mansion is, or their house where they greeted us, and honorary, yes. And that was a lovely experience. That was wonderful. That we got to go to Lord Astor's house and meet the Lord Mayor, and they
the
sang.
Astor Diamonds.
We saw the Astor Diamonds.
Oh wow!
It was
They were really treated like royalty a little bit. It was a nice experience. They had. This was another memory. Was after they sang and talked to the Lord Mayor a little bit. They had this amazing food spread for us with tea. And I look over to my left,
Connor,
and there's Noah with one of the other boys, Connor, and they're drinking tea very properly.
With the pinky out and everything?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
And Connor is just sitting there downing cups of tea at a time, and I say, you might want to slow down there, save some tea for the rest of us. I myself would like to have another cup sometime.
Yeah. But it was that moment of them sitting there in Lord Astor's house, who was the first female MP of Parliament, also an American.
Oh, interesting.
First history buffs. So that was just a great thing to see these young people really absorbing that history and that connection to them, and again that ambassador piece where they were true ambassadors being greeted at the leader of that city's house.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You mentioned the steps of the Mayflower. What is that? I'm trying to visualize. Is that where they actually walked and boarded?
Yes, there's a little portico similar to where our rock is, a little smaller.
Our pebble.
It is a rock.
Well, it's been broken a few times,
Yes.
but we still call it a
It's the rock.
It's a rock.
Yeah.
A little smaller portico, but steps that lead right to the harbor right there.
Yeah.
That is where they said the Mayflower, literally, and the Speedwell, the first time, left from, and then the Speedwell came back. So it's a beautiful spot, a historic spot, similar to our Plymouth Rock area, if you think of it that way, very similar to that spot. So
I was in last month. I was in Nova Scotia for the first time. It was one of on my bucket list, and I was staying in Annapolis Royale, which in 1604 was a trading post. So there were no women or children that were allowed, because it was just trading with the Indians, furs, and stayed in this small little bed and breakfast place. But the area itself was just, again, that whole historic thing, and they had the storyboards that were there. But during breakfast, when you stay at a bed and breakfast, everyone's got a different room, and you all come down and you all eat breakfast at the same time.
Sure.
And there was this couple sitting across from us that they were from Dartmouth, England. And so I was telling them, I was, oh my gosh, so I was going into the whole, Plymouth, Mass, Plymouth, England, and they were started to say that they were just going, oh, we, over in England, we are so excited and jazzed about the 400th anniversary.
Sure.
And the enthusiasm that they were sharing, and then I thought back to what we're doing here, and it's almost like we're not doing much. I mean, it's only 4.5 years. Where our federal government really, at least at this moment, isn't behind it. And where I know where England The UK has put lots of money behind it. Millions of dollars, or at least close to $1 million of just helping
have
things.
A lot of effort.
And it really was sort of disappointing, but it was just great to hear somebody who lives in Dartmouth, England, where again, if the Speedwell hadn't taken on water, it would probably be called Dartmouth, Massachusetts today, versus Plymouth. And so it was great to be able to share that with them, but also coming back here, it's and your dad wrestling and I have talked about it many times where it's we got to get this thing moving.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost right around the corner. So, I'm really glad that you guys have started to forge that enthusiasm.
But the 400th committee here really is working their butts off.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I know many of them on the board, and Michelle Puccarara. They're all working very, very hard. But it's but they also are looking for that funding as well.
Sure,
exactly.
And that's always been the biggest challenge.
I think one thing that we realized, you talked a little bit earlier, Andrew, about sister cities and twinnings, and one thing that really, for me, as not just an employee of the school system, but as a member of this town, it's a simple connection, Plymouth to Plymouth. There's the historical aspect, but what makes this so doable is some practical things, the language.
That helps.
It's really,
it is helpful.
When we're Skyping with the other music directors and planning, it's a lot easier to plan when we're speaking the same language. And also the time difference. 5 hours isn't a tremendous difference, and we can get work done the same day, and we can have Skype calls the same day. So there's some practical aspects that make that doable. We have, from our vantage point in the public schools, forged some really good connections and relationships with our counterparts in education over there. Wonderful people, really willing to work hard for kids. I think we have a similar vision on this, and that is, this is about the history, this is about the connection of the two Plymouths, and what we really want, our big goal, is to get kids to travel. We want our students to travel over there, and we want their students to travel here. I think one of the great experiences that we're going to have here as a group, there'll be the concert, we will see those students around town. Yep. But we're going to be looking for host families to host some of these students, and that experience right there, getting to know students and forming those relationships is just a wonderful opportunity. So some of our host families, and we don't have them yet, but we will get them together. Even if they don't travel, they will have that bond with their counterpart student over in Plymouth, England. So we're really excited about it. We're really happy that it went really well. We think it went well. Do you think it went well?
I think it went amazingly. I might be wrong, but I think it went according to plan. I think the fact that we had an amazing concert where we got standing ovations, and we worked hard, didn't mess up. I think that went well.
And there were no injuries.
There weren't.
That's big.
Since there
and everybody came home.
Everybody that went
in one piece too
came home. And again, there's just so much work goes into this by so many people, and it's about all of those people working hard, having the same energy, enthusiasm, and work ethic to get it done. Because it takes a lot to pull this off, and lots of people put their
and what have been some of the other students, Mike, that since they've been back? Obviously, I'm sure many of them are coming up to yourself and some of the other teachers that had went and just expressing, their thoughts and whatnot. What are some of the things you're hearing?
I very positive feedback. Lots of excitement that they are going to continue to stay together and again sing in November, and very excited that the UK students are coming here. One thing for me personally is I've been out of the classroom for a number of years and not teaching students, and I originally started teaching in middle school.
What subject did you teach?
I have a background in visual arts, so I taught different arts in secondary schools, middle schools, and high schools.
Okay, great.
Before going into administration, but I miss the kids, and this was a project where I really got to know the kids, and I see the students now. I go around to the different schools and I see them, and we wave to each other, and it is and say hello, and so I personally am very grateful for this project, just to fulfill me professionally and personally, to get connected with some students again. So,
Now, have any of the students done any blogging? I know that some of the teachers did.
so we have, if you want to kind of find out what's happening and updates on these things,
How can people look that up?
So Plymouth International Chorus, if you Google it, the first thing that will come up is Kathy McMinn's blog,
Okay.
Which she continues to update. So we performed at opening day for the teachers, 800 or so teachers. So
Nice.
the students performed for that. That was very exciting.
That was also a lot of fun.
That was fun.
Took
And so-
preparation too.
Yep, and all that is updated there. There's also a Twitter, and that's how we kind of by the minute update. So it's PIC Chorus. If you follow us there, you'll get all the updates. We'll talk about the Illuminate program. We'll talk about the chorus coming here, and people will get to know things. And obviously on the Plymouth Public Schools website as well. So we'll push all that information out. And as it gets closer, certainly the Old Colony and making public announcements and getting many community members here involved and excited for their visit coming.
Well, I'm sure here also on the Three Amigos, we will continue to promote it, and obviously it's something that is monumental. I mean, it really is, and so hopefully,
Very.
Since we decided to get rid of the Olympics, which was such a great idea, would have been almost like another fiasco like the Big Dig was. Maybe we can look at taking some of those dollars and start sending them down here on the South Shore so that we can really celebrate.
Yeah.
And as we talked about last time here on the Three
do.
Amigos, it's not a Plymouth thing, it's not a Boston thing, it's not a Massachusetts thing,
It's an America
not
thing.
even a USA thing. It's a world thing, because what we created here with this government, as imperfect as it may be. I think Winston Churchill says, but it's the only form of government that seems to work. But it's really, you look at other countries that now have some semblance of freedom, the ability to vote and whatnot, and that all spurned from this. And it's just amazing. So
The desire for freedom.
did Dave Gallerani call in by any chance? I'm sorry, we've just been here yakking away.
Yeah.
Ken says not tonight.
Well, we've got about a minute left, and again, I want to thank Noah Brewster for being one of our guests tonight, along with Mike Caple as well. And again, guys, I really appreciate you being here, and we will continue to do this. Just quickly, my book now is available at the Fine Line Bookstore down there in Village Landing, Celebration of Life. And so if you do stop by to purchase an autographed book down there, make sure you do say hi to Kathy. In the meantime, I want to thank our sponsors, our underwriters, Kevin and David Gallerani, as well as Wrestling Brewster from Brewster PC Solutions. And again, if you are around town and you see Ken or Karen, make sure you stop and say hello. If it's Wednesday night, it's Talk of the Town. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.